It's easy to look back now on the American Revolution as a series of events designed by fate, something that was just meant to be. For us as Americans, to imagine anything but the country we know and love is a hard thing to do. But in the summer of 1776, declaring independence from Britain was an extremely difficult and dangerous decision. The colonists knew this, but still, they felt that pursuing independence was the only viable option moving forward. Whatever the decision the delegates of the Continental Congress made, they knew they had to stick together. Benjamin Franklin said, "We must indeed all hang together, or most assuredly, we shall all hang separately." By that, of course, he meant that by declaring independence, the Founding Fathers took a large risk. The price for treason against Britain was death. For years after the French and Indian War, tensions between the American colonists and Britain grew as Britain imposed a series of taxes and laws the Americans saw as unfair. And after several attempts at peace and negotiation, the Revolutionary War broke out in April of 1775 at Lexington and Concord. In late June of 1776, the Second Continental Congress voted to create a committee to write a Declaration of Independence. That committee was made up of 5 representatives: Benjamin Franklin from Pennsylvania, Robert Livingston from New York, Roger Sherman of Connecticut, John Adams of Massachusetts, and Thomas Jefferson of Virginia. The negative experiences in the colonies and sour relationship with Britain inspired the ideas and words of the Declaration of Independence, a lot of which were very revolutionary for the times.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed.
The idea that this new nation would not be ruled by a king, but by elected officials for and by the people, was just something not seen almost anywhere else in the world. This new and profound idea of government is known as popular sovereignty. This new idea of government in the United States satisfied colonists who felt bitter towards King George III. But the poor relationship between the colonies and Britain was not the only source of inspiration for those inspirational words, however. Thomas Paine, a colonist and a patriot, published the famous pamphlet in January of 1776 titled Common Sense. It outlined the basic rights that colonists felt they were entitled to and sparked the road to independence in 1776. The Declaration was also inspired by a series of figures, ranging from European Enlightenment figures such as John Locke and Montesquieu to ancient philosophers such as Aristotle and Plato. Even though this document was full of new and revolutionary ideas, it didn't address a few very important issues. Slavery, for one, future treatment of Native Americans, and women. Even today, over 230 years after the Declaration of Independence was written, the United States still falls short of some of its rights and ideals outlined in its words.
The real glory of the Declaration of Independence has been our nation's epic struggle throughout history to close the gap between the ideals of this remarkable document and the sometimes painful realities of American life. The Declaration symbolizes the birth of our nation, of course, but also the constant struggle to achieve its ideals. Consider, the words of this document inspired the French Revolution in 1789, Lincoln to issue the Emancipation Proclamation, Martin Luther King Jr. to fight for civil rights, and women's suffragettes to fight for the vote. This business of fulfilling the Declaration of Independence is a difficult struggle, but it is also an ennobling struggle. Jefferson called the Declaration an expression of the American mind.
So, by the end of that revolutionary summer in 1776, the 13 colonies had established themselves as the United States. The nation moved forward as one, but it was still in a raging war with Britain that would not end for another 7 years. It still needed to find ways to settle disagreements among the very different colonies. And although the Founding Fathers had ideas for how to govern its people on its own, it still needed to find a way to successfully set that plan into motion.
I'm gonna steal the Declaration of Independence.